The glass slipped from Mara's hand and shattered across the cabin floor before Elias could finish pouring his drink. The sound cut through the room like a warning. He turned slowly, holding the bottle by its neck, his jaw already tight. "You serious?" Mara looked down at the broken pieces. "It slipped. That crystal was older than you." She bent to gather the shards. "Then it had a long life." Elias let out a sharp laugh. "You got jokes now?" She said nothing. Her hands moved carefully, slow and practiced, like she had cleaned up worse things in this house. He watched her for a moment, irritated by how calm she looked. The whole room smelled like cedar, old smoke, and dust trapped in the curtains. His father had been dead 3 months, but the cabin still carried his shape. Everything was where the old man left it. Rifle above the fireplace. Boots by the door. Papers stacked on the desk like he might come back for them. Elias took a drink. "You missed a spot." Mara glanced at the bookshelf. "No. Over there." He pointed at a side table already polished clean. She walked over anyway and wiped it again. "That better?" "For someone getting paid, your attitude needs work." She folded the rag. "I'm not here for attitude." "Then what are you here for?" "To clean." He smiled like he had caught her in something small and stupid. "That's right." Mara moved toward the dresser near the bed. Elias stiffened when she reached for the bottom drawer. "Don't touch that." Her hand paused. "That drawer stays shut." She looked at him over her shoulder. "Why?" "Because I said so." A beat passed. Then she touched the handle anyway. Elias crossed the room fast. "You deaf?" His voice bounced off the walls. He stood close enough now to smell soap on her sleeves. She didn't flinch. "Step away." "No." He blinked. "No? You act like this cabin is sacred." "It is." "To who?" "My family." Mara nodded once, like she had heard something expected. Families hide the strangest things. He laughed again, harsher this time. "You maids always think old houses hold secrets. This one does." He leaned against the dresser. "And what would you know about it?" "Enough." "That's not an answer." "It wasn't meant to be." His smile faded. Something in her tone was starting to bother him, though he couldn't say why. She wasn't scared of him. Not even a little. Most people around here either feared his last name or respected what it bought. She seemed interested in neither. He studied her face. Older than he first thought. Lines around the mouth. Tired eyes. Hands rough from years of work. Still calm. Still too calm. "You been working here long?" "A while." "How long?" "Long enough." He rolled his eyes. "You always talk in riddles?" "No." "Could have fooled me." She opened a wardrobe and began sorting shirts. Elias watched her touch his father's things like she belonged near them. That irritated him more than the broken glass. "My father never mentioned you." He rarely mentioned useful things. He laughed once, but there was less humor in it now. "You got opinions for a cleaner." "I had opinions before the broom." That made him pause. Mara lifted a folded coat and set it aside. Dust floated into the light. "You should leave the drawer closed," Elias said again, quieter now. "Why?" "Private." "For you?" "For this family." She folded another shirt. "Your mother hated when people touched that drawer." The room stopped. No movement. No sound except the wood settling inside the walls. Elias stared at her. "What did you say?" Mara continued folding, as if nothing had changed. He stepped closer. "Say that again." She looked up. "Your mother hated when people touched that drawer." His face drained. How do you know my mother? She told me herself. That's impossible. Not really. My mother's been dead since I was 10. Yes. He swallowed hard. No one here knew her. Mara tilted her head slightly. That isn't true. His hands curled into fists. Who are you? She studied him for a long moment, almost sadly. You used to ask better questions. His breathing changed. Faster now. Shallower. What does that mean? But Mara only nodded toward the drawer. If you want answers, she said, open it. Elias looked at the handle like it had suddenly become alive. And for the first time since returning home, he was afraid. He did not move. The bottle slipped lower in his hand, forgotten. Somewhere outside, wind pushed against the porch screen with a dry scrape. Elias stared at the drawer, then at Mara, searching her face for a joke, a trick, any crack in her certainty. He found none. Only patience. And something worse than patience. Recognition. Like she had been waiting years for him to finally come back. The drawer snaps open with a dry wooden crack that cuts through the cabin like a warning shot. Elias doesn't even realize he's the one who pulled it. For a second, no one speaks. Mara stands behind him, still, watching. Elias stares down. What is this? Inside the drawer is not gold, not money, not anything he expected. Just pieces. Old burned photographs. Folded letters tied with faded string. A broken sheriff badge with scratches deep enough to look like they were made in anger. And a small child's shoe, gray with dust, too small to belong to any grown memory. Elias steps back. No. No, this doesn't make sense. Mara moves closer but doesn't touch anything. It makes perfect sense. Elias turns sharply. Whose stuff is this? Mara answers without hesitation. Your family's. He laughs once, but it breaks halfway. My family doesn't keep garbage like this. Mara looks at him. Your family keeps worse. Silence drops again. Elias grabs the letters, shaking slightly. These are burned. Yes. Why are they burned? So someone could say they were never real. He opens one letter. The paper trembles in his hands. His eyes scan fast, then slower. His face changes. Confusion first. Then something heavier. Fear. No, he whispers. This isn't possible. Mara watches him carefully. Elias reads aloud without meaning to stop. If my son grows up loving his father, then I have failed twice. He stops. The room feels smaller. Elias lowers the letter. That's my mother's handwriting. Mara nods. Yes. Elias shakes his head hard. No. She died sick. That's what I was told. That's what everyone said. Mara steps closer. Everyone was paid to say it. His voice rises. You're lying. Mara doesn't react. You've been living inside a story they built for you. Elias slams the drawer shut with force. Dust lifts into the air. I don't believe this. Mara replies softly. You don't have to believe it. It already happened. He turns away, pacing now. This is some kind of setup. You planted this. You planned this. Mara stays still. I didn't plan your family's sins. Elias stops. His breathing is louder now. Why are you even here? Mara looks at him. I told you. To clean. He laughs bitterly. No. No one cleans a house like this for years without a reason. Mara doesn't answer. That silence hits him harder than words. Elias steps back toward the drawer. His hand hovers over the badge. He picks it up. The metal is cold. The engraving is faint but still visible. Sheriff's office. He turns it slowly. This belonged to law enforcement. Mara nods once. It still does. Just not the honest kind. Elias looks up sharply. You're saying my father. I'm saying your father didn't act alone. The words sit heavy in the air. Elias shakes his head again, but weaker now. No, he wouldn't. Mara interrupts him. You don't know what he would do. You were a child. That lands differently. Elias goes quiet. A long pause. Then he whispers. What happened to her? Mara doesn't answer immediately. She looks at the drawer. Then at the cabin walls. Like she's remembering something she hates remembering. She tried to leave. Elias's eyes lift. Leave what? This place. Leave with who? Mara finally looks directly at him. With you. The room tightens again. Elias steps back. That's impossible. Mara's voice stays steady. She was planning it for months. He shakes his head harder now. No. No, I would remember that. Mara says nothing. That silence is the answer. Elias's voice drops. I remember something. He stops. His eyes flicker. A half memory. A door closing too fast. A woman crying but stopping when footsteps came. He presses his fingers to his temple. No. I don't. Mara speaks gently now. They made sure you wouldn't. Elias looks at her, breathing uneven. Who? Mara doesn't hesitate. Your father. The name hangs there like something alive. Elias's jaw tightens. You keep talking like you knew him. Mara replies quietly. I did. That stops him again. Elias stares. You're not just a maid. Mara doesn't answer. He steps closer. Who are you? Still nothing. Elias lowers his voice. Tell me. A beat. Then Mara finally says. I was there the night she disappeared. The cabin feels colder after that. Elias whispers. You saw it happen? Mara nods slightly. I saw what came after. Elias's hands clench. You should have told someone. Mara's eyes don't move. There was no one to tell. A long silence follows. Only the wind outside scratches against the cabin walls. Elias looks down at the drawer again. The shoe. The letters. The badge. His voice breaks slightly. So my whole life was built on this? Mara answers simply. Yes. Elias exhales sharply, like something inside him finally cracked but didn't fall yet. He whispers again. Why keep it? Mara looks at him for a long time. Because one day you would come back. Elias freezes. Come back for what? Mara answers without blinking. For the truth you were never supposed to see. And for the first time since stepping into the cabin, Elias doesn't look like he owns anything at all. Mara doesn't wait for him to speak. She just turns and walks out of the cabin. Elias stands frozen for a second, still holding the sheriff's badge from the drawer. Then he follows. The air outside feels wrong. Too open. Too quiet. Like the land is holding its breath. Mara is already ahead, walking past the broken fence line toward the back of the property. Elias calls out. Where are you going? She doesn't slow down. Answers don't stay inside houses. He catches up, anger mixing with confusion. You can't just drop that and walk away. Mara finally glances at him. I just did. They move through dry grass, past an old shed leaning into itself like it's tired of standing. Elias stares at her back. You knew my mother. I did. And you never told anyone? There was no one safe to tell. Elias scoffs. Safe from who? Mara stops walking. She turns slowly. From your father. That name again. It doesn't land like before. Now it sits heavier, sharper. Elias looks away for a second, then back. You keep saying that like he was some kind of monster. Mara's voice stays flat. He was worse than that. He was organized. They continue walking. The land shifts slightly downward behind the cabin, like it remembers something the house doesn't. A line of stones appears ahead. Old. Half-sunk. Uneven. Elias slows. What is this place? Mara answers without looking back. Don't you remember? I've never been here. Mara stops near the stones. Yes, you have. Elias shakes his head. I would know. She turns. You were small. Silence. The wind moves through dry weeds, dragging sound across the ground. Mara steps closer to the stones. Your mother brought you here. Elias stiffens. No. She did. He looks around like the land might correct her. This is insane. Mara kneels. Elias doesn't move. What are you doing? She touches the ground between two stones. Looking. For what? For where she stopped being safe. Elias watches her hands. You're saying she came here, with me? Yes. And my father didn't know? Mara laughs once, short and bitter. Your father always knew. That line hits differently. Elias takes a step back. You're making this up. Mara doesn't argue. Instead, she starts digging with her fingers. Elias reacts instantly. What are you doing? Getting you answers. Stop. She doesn't stop. Dirt moves under her nails. Elias grabs her wrist. I said stop. She looks up at him. For the first time, there's something harder in her expression. Not fear. Not anger. Just patience wearing thin. Let go. He doesn't. What is under there? Mara pulls her hand free. Something your family tried very hard to forget. She keeps digging. Elias watches, breathing harder now. This is crazy. Mara doesn't look up. Everything you've learned today was already here. You just weren't allowed to see it. He steps closer, lowering his voice. If you find nothing, I swear I'm done listening to you. Mara nods. That's fair. She digs deeper. Then her fingers hit something solid. She stops. Elias notices immediately. What is it? Mara exhales slowly. Stone. He moves closer. Move. She shifts aside. Elias kneels, pushing dirt away with both hands now. The object becomes visible. A small stone-lined opening. A sealed well. Elias freezes slightly. This wasn't here. Mara stands. It was always here. He stares at it. The opening is old. Hand-built. The kind of structure that doesn't belong to modern time. Elias whispers. What is inside? Mara answers quietly. Whatever she left behind. He looks at her. She? Mara nods. Elias stands up fast. My mother. Mara doesn't correct him. Elias circles the well. This is ridiculous. There's nothing here. Mara steps closer. She came here the night before she tried to leave. Elias stops. What? Mara continues. She was planning to take you and disappear. Elias shakes his head. I would remember that. Mara looks at him directly. You were told not to. That silence returns. He stares into the well opening. Darkness inside. No sound. Just depth. Elias swallows. You're saying she hid something in there? Mara nods once. Yes. Elias crouches again. He peers in. Nothing but black space and cold air rising up. He pulls back slightly. This could just be empty. Mara answers. It isn't. Elias looks at her. How do you know? A pause. Then Mara says. Because your father sealed it. That line lands wrong. Elias stands slowly. He did what? Mara gestures at the stone edges. Concrete. Old seal. Forced shut. Not weather. Not time. Elias runs his hand along the edge. It's rough, uneven. He feels it now. Intentional. Someone closed this. Not nature. Human hands. Elias steps back. He never told me this place existed. Mara nods. Of course he didn't. Elias's voice drops. Why would he hide a well? Mara looks into the opening. Not the well. A beat. Whatever was inside it. Elias stares at her. You're saying something is down there. Mara answers simply. Yes. Elias shakes his head, trying to reset himself. No. No, this is just stories. Old land stories. Mara steps closer to him. You already opened the drawer. That stops him. She continues. You already saw the letters. Elias looks down, breathing uneven. This is not the same. Mara's voice sharpens slightly. It is exactly the same. Silence stretches. The wind pushes through the grass again. Elias looks at the well one more time. Then back at her. What did she leave? Mara hesitates. For the first time. Just a fraction. Then she says. Proof. Elias stares. Proof of what? Mara looks at him. Of who your father really was. The air feels heavier after that. Elias steps closer to the well again. This time slower. Careful. Like it might answer back. And behind him, Mara watches without blinking, like she already knows the moment everything buried here will finally stop staying buried. Elias is already digging before Mara finishes speaking. His hands hit the dirt like he's trying to erase the last hour of his life. Proof, he snaps. You keep saying that word like it means something real. Mara stands at the edge of the well, watching him. It does. Elias throws another handful of soil. Everything you've shown me is old paper and stories. Mara doesn't react. Keep digging. He laughs under his breath, frustrated now. You really believe this? That something is just sitting under my family land waiting for me? Mara's voice stays steady. I don't believe it. I remember it. That line slows him for half a second. Then he digs harder. Minutes pass like that. Only dirt. Only breath. Only sound of his own anger. Then his fingers hit something harder than soil. He freezes. There's something here. Mara steps closer. I told you. Elias clears more dirt fast now, desperate. A shape appears. Not wood. Not stone. Metal. He pulls his hands back slightly. What is that? Mara kneels beside him. Open it. Elias hesitates. Then grips the edge and pulls. The metal box resists at first, stuck under years of pressure. He yanks harder. It comes free with a dull scrape. He stares at it. Old. Rusted. Locked. His breathing changes. This was buried on purpose. Mara nods. Yes. Elias wipes dirt from his hands. I don't have a key. Mara reaches into her pocket. That stops him again. He looks at her. You've got to be kidding me. She holds out a small iron key. Elias doesn't take it right away. You had this the whole time? Mara answers simply. Yes. His jaw tightens. You could have done this without me. Mara meets his eyes. No. That single word lands heavier than anything else today. Elias snatches the key. Fine. He forces it into the lock. It sticks. He turns it hard. A click. The box opens. For a second, neither of them moves. Elias lifts the lid slowly. Inside. Folded papers. A blood-stained scarf wrapped in cloth. And a thin journal, edges worn soft like it was held too many times. Elias stares. What is this? Mara's voice drops slightly. Everything she wasn't allowed to keep above ground. Elias picks up the journal first. His hands shake slightly now, though he tries to hide it. He opens it. The first page is dated. His mother's handwriting. He reads silently at first. Then out loud without realizing it. I can hear them outside the door again. He stops. Looks at Mara. She doesn't interrupt. He continues. They say I'm sick. They say I'm confused. But I remember everything. Elias swallows. This is insane. Mara replies softly. No. This is controlled. He flips another page. His voice tightens. If my son forgets me, then they win. Elias stops again. The word son hits differently. He looks up fast. Why would she write that? Mara answers immediately. Because she knew what they were planning. Elias shuts the journal slightly. This doesn't prove anything yet. Mara stands a little straighter. Keep reading. He hesitates. Then opens it again. The next page is worse. His voice lowers. They told me I tried to leave him. They told me I abandoned my own child. But I never stopped looking for him. Elias's breathing changes. He turns a page faster now. Another entry. I heard Elias cry from the hallway. They wouldn't let me go to him. He stops. His hand freezes on the paper. My name. Mara nods once. Yes. Elias looks up sharply. You're telling me she was here, writing this, while I was living upstairs? Mara doesn't answer immediately. Then. Yes. Silence. Elias stands up abruptly. No. No, this is wrong. I remember my childhood. I remember her being gone. I remember. He stops mid-sentence. Something flickers in his face. Uncertainty. Mara watches him closely. What do you remember? Elias doesn't answer right away. His voice drops. I remember locked doors. He swallows. And voices outside them. Mara doesn't move. Elias shakes his head like he's trying to reset himself. This doesn't mean she was here. Mara points at the scarf. Then explain that. Elias looks at it. The blood-stained cloth. He doesn't touch it. What happened to her? Mara finally steps closer. After she wrote those pages, she tried to run. Elias whispers. And? Mara holds his gaze. She didn't make it past the fence line. That silence is heavier than the well. Elias steps back slowly. You're saying she was killed. Mara corrects him gently. No. A pause. Not killed. Elias frowns. What then? Mara looks toward the cabin in the distance. She was taken back. Elias laughs once, but it's broken. Taken back by who? Mara answers without blinking. Your father. That name again. But now it feels closer. Elias grips the journal tighter. You're telling me he locked her away? Mara nods. Yes. Elias's voice rises. For how long? Mara hesitates for the first time. Then. Until she stopped being useful. That hits him differently. Not like anger. Like collapse. Elias looks down at the journal again. His voice drops. And me? Mara doesn't answer right away. Elias looks up. Where was I while this was happening? Mara finally speaks. Alive. A beat. Just not allowed to know it. Elias stands very still now. The wind moves through the grass behind them, but it feels distant. He looks at everything inside the box again. Then at the well. Then at Mara. His voice comes out quieter. So my entire life was built on a locked room. Mara nods once. Yes. Elias closes the journal slowly. Not out of understanding. Out of something closer to breaking. And for the first time, he doesn't argue back. The sound of tires hits gravel before they even see the truck. Elias looks up from the box instantly. Mara doesn't move. But she knows. That's not random, Elias says. Mara replies flat. No. The truck appears at the edge of the land like it owns the horizon. Black. Official. Too clean for this place. A sheriff's badge glints on the door. Elias straightens slowly. You're kidding. Mara shakes her head once. I told you they were watching. The truck stops near the cabin. Dust settles. Then the door opens. The sheriff steps out first. Calm. Controlled. Smiling like nothing is wrong. Behind him, 2 deputies stay in the truck. He adjusts his hat. Well, he says. This is a sight. Elias stands between the well and the box. What do you want? The sheriff looks at him like he's amused. I live here, son. I don't need a reason to check my land. Mara steps slightly forward. This isn't your land. The sheriff's eyes flick to her. And you are? Before she answers, Elias cuts in. She works here. The sheriff nods slowly. Right. The maid. Mara doesn't react. Elias's jaw tightens. You didn't come out here for small talk. The sheriff smiles wider. Smart boy. Always was. Elias steps forward. Don't call me that. A pause. The sheriff looks at the open metal box near the well. His smile fades slightly. What's that? Mara answers first. Nothing that belongs to you. The sheriff's gaze sharpens. He walks closer. Elias doesn't move. The air changes. He sees the journal. The scarf. The papers. His expression tightens just a fraction too late. Elias notices. You recognize it, Elias says. The sheriff exhales slowly. You shouldn't be digging around out here. Mara replies immediately. We already did. The sheriff looks at her now like she's a problem he forgot existed. You always had a sharp mouth. Elias steps in. You know her? The sheriff glances at Elias. I know everyone on this land. Elias points at the box. Then explain this. The sheriff shakes his head slightly. That's old history. Mara laughs once. It's not history if it never ended. The sheriff's tone changes. A little colder now. You should close that box. Elias doesn't move. Why? The sheriff looks at him directly. Because some things don't stay buried for a reason. Elias's voice rises slightly. Like what happened to my mother? That stops everything for half a second. Even the wind feels like it slows. The sheriff doesn't answer immediately. Then. You shouldn't be saying her name. Elias laughs sharply. Why? You afraid it'll do something? The sheriff steps closer. Mara, he says without looking away from Elias. Tell him to stop. Mara answers quietly. I don't take orders from you anymore. That lands wrong. The sheriff finally looks at her fully. For the first time, there's something colder under his calm face. You forgot your place. Mara's voice is steady. I remember it better than you do. Elias watches both of them now. You knew her, he says again, slower. The sheriff ignores him. Elias, he says instead. You're opening doors you don't understand. Elias points at the journal. I understand enough. The sheriff's eyes flick to it again. A flicker. Gone fast. But real. Mara sees it too. You're scared, she says softly. The sheriff lets out a short breath. No. Mara steps closer to the box. Then look at it. The sheriff's voice hardens. That stays closed. Elias moves slightly in front of it. Or what? A beat. The sheriff studies him. Something shifts in his expression. Less patience now. More warning. Or you stop being protected. Elias laughs. Protected by who? The sheriff leans in slightly. By me. Silence. Elias stares at him. Then. So it's true. The sheriff doesn't respond. Mara says it instead. He was there. Elias turns to her. You're saying he. Mara nods once. Yes. The sheriff exhales slowly. That's enough. He reaches for his belt. Not fully drawing yet. Just a reminder. Elias notices. So now what? Elias says. You shoot me for asking questions? The sheriff's voice drops. I don't want to. Mara speaks quietly. But you would. That hits harder than Elias expects. The sheriff finally draws half an inch of his weapon. Not fully. Just enough. Last warning, he says. Close it. Elias doesn't move. Instead, he bends down and picks up the journal. The sheriff reacts instantly. Don't. Too late. Elias opens it again. Reads one line out loud. My son will know what they did to me. Silence drops. The sheriff's face tightens. Just slightly. But enough. Elias looks up. So she knew, he says. She knew I'd find this. The sheriff steps forward fast now. Mara, he snaps. Get it from him. Mara doesn't move. The sheriff turns on her. Now. Mara finally looks at him. No. That word breaks something small in the air. Elias notices. The sheriff pauses. Just a fraction. Then his voice goes quiet. You really want to do this? Mara answers. It's already done. A long silence. Then Elias speaks. You helped him. Mara doesn't deny it. The sheriff watches Elias carefully now. She doesn't know everything, he says. Mara replies immediately. I know enough. Elias looks between them. Then back at the box. Then tell me, Elias says. What am I holding? The sheriff hesitates. That's all it takes. Elias knows. He steps back slightly. You don't want me to know. The sheriff's jaw tightens. No. Mara speaks softly. Too late. Elias closes the journal. Slowly. And for the first time since this began, the sheriff doesn't look in control anymore. The first sound is glass cracking inside the cabin. Then smoke. Elias turns sharply. That's inside. Mara is already moving. Kitchen, she says. They run. The sheriff doesn't move at first. Just watches. Then he follows slower, like he already knows where this is going. Inside the cabin, the air has changed. Thick. Sharp. Wrong. A curtain near the kitchen window is already burning, flame crawling upward like it was waiting for permission. Elias coughs immediately. What did you do? He shouts. The sheriff enters behind them. I didn't do anything, he says. Mara grabs a cloth and tries to smother the fire. It spreads faster. Elias looks around. This wasn't here a minute ago. Mara doesn't answer. She's focused. The sheriff steps toward the counter. You should have closed the box, he says. Elias snaps his head. So this is your solution? Burn it all? The sheriff shakes his head. No. This is consequence. Mara turns sharply. You lit it. The sheriff doesn't deny it fast enough. That's enough. Elias sees it. You started this. The sheriff finally sighs. It's containment. Elias laughs once. Containment? You're burning the house. The sheriff steps closer. You don't understand what's in that journal. Mara cuts in immediately. We understand more than you do now. The sheriff looks at her. You were supposed to keep this quiet. Mara's voice is steady. I did. For too long. A crack in the ceiling. Ash falls. Elias steps back. We need to get out. No one moves. The sheriff looks at Elias. You still think this is about truth? Elias snaps. What else would it be? The sheriff gestures at the fire. Power. Mara shakes her head. No. Fear. The sheriff's eyes harden slightly. Same thing. Elias looks between them. You two are talking like I'm not here. Mara turns to him. You're the only reason this is still happening. That stops him. The fire grows louder. Elias steps toward the counter where the box sat. It's already smoking. The sheriff sees him. Don't touch it. Elias ignores him. He grabs the journal again. The sheriff moves fast now. I said don't. Elias pulls back. You don't get to control this anymore. The sheriff freezes for a second. Then slowly reaches for his belt. Mara notices. Elias, she says sharply. Move. He doesn't. The sheriff draws fully now. Not pointed yet. But visible. Last time, he says. Elias holds the journal tighter. No. Silence cuts through the burning room. Then Mara steps between them. Put it down, she tells the sheriff. The sheriff doesn't look at her. This isn't your decision anymore. Mara replies instantly. It stopped being yours a long time ago. The sheriff finally looks at her. Something colder now. You really forgot what I did for you. Mara doesn't flinch. I remember everything. A beat. Elias looks at her. What does he mean? Mara doesn't answer. The sheriff does. She survived because of me. Elias turns. You protected her? The sheriff shakes his head slowly. I controlled what she saw. Mara's voice sharpens. You locked me in silence. The sheriff's tone drops. You were a child. Mara steps closer. And you used that. Elias stares between them. The fire behind them grows louder. Crackling wood. Falling beams. Elias finally speaks. You were both there. The sheriff looks at him. Yes. Mara answers at the same time. Yes. Elias shakes his head. So this whole time, I was being raised inside a lie. The sheriff lowers his voice. Not a lie. A decision. Elias snaps. About my life? Mara says quietly. About your survival. Elias turns to her. You knew? Mara hesitates. Just for a second. Then. Yes. That breaks something in him. He steps back. You both decided who I was. The sheriff speaks firmly. We decided you'd live. Elias laughs bitterly. And my mother? Silence again. The fire pops loudly behind them. Elias steps forward. Answer me. Mara finally says it. She was the cost. That line hits differently. Elias goes still. The sheriff looks away for the first time. Elias whispers. So she wasn't sick. Mara answers softly. No. She wasn't confused. No. She didn't abandon me. Mara's voice breaks slightly. No. The room feels like it shrinks. Elias grips the journal so hard his knuckles pale. So you buried her. The sheriff finally speaks. We contained her. Elias turns sharply. Contained her like what? A threat? The sheriff doesn't deny it. That's worse than yes. Mara steps closer to Elias. She fought, she says quietly. Every day. Elias looks at her. And you watched? Mara nods. I stayed. Elias shakes his head. That's not the same as saving her. Mara's voice lowers. I know. The roof creaks loudly. The fire is spreading. Fast now. The sheriff looks toward the exit. We need to leave. Elias doesn't move. You don't get to walk away. The sheriff turns back. You think this ends here? Elias's voice is steady now. It starts here. Mara grabs his arm. Elias, now. He finally looks at her. Really looks. And something in him shifts. Not trust. Not forgiveness. Something sharper. Understanding. He nods once. Then turns toward the door. But before they leave, Elias looks back at the burning room. At the place where truth was kept hidden. And says quietly. This is what you did to her. No one answers. They run out as the cabin starts to collapse behind them. Elias is sitting on the ground outside the burning cabin when it starts. He doesn't even realize at first that he's shaking. The fire behind him crackles like it's still speaking. Mara stands a few steps away. The sheriff is farther off, pacing in silence like he's deciding what version of himself survives this. Elias stares at his hands. They're still covered in ash. So that's it, he says quietly. We just watch it burn? Mara doesn't answer right away. Then. No. Elias looks up at her. What else is there? Mara sits down across from him. Not close. Not far. Just there. Truth doesn't end when the house does, she says. Elias laughs once, hollow. That sounds nice. Means nothing. Mara nods slightly. I know. A long silence. The fire pops behind them like bones breaking. Elias finally speaks again. You said you stayed. Mara doesn't move. Yes. Why? That question lands heavier than anything else tonight. Mara looks at the burning cabin. Then back at him. Because I didn't have anywhere else to go. Elias shakes his head. That's not an answer. It is. He leans forward slightly. You could have left. Mara's voice stays flat. I tried. Elias studies her. What stopped you? A pause. Then she says. Your father. The name doesn't surprise him anymore. It just tightens something in his chest. Of course, Elias mutters. Always him. Mara continues. He didn't just own land. He owned exits. Elias looks away. That doesn't make sense. It did here. Silence again. The sheriff in the distance finally stops pacing. He's listening now. Elias notices but doesn't care. Tell me what happened, he says. Mara exhales slowly. I was 17. Elias waits. Mara continues. They brought me in to work the house. Same as others. Quiet. Cheap. Replaceable. Elias listens without interrupting. Mara's voice stays even. But I saw things. What things? Your mother, she says. That pulls him in instantly. Elias leans forward. What about her? Mara's jaw tightens slightly. She wasn't weak. She wasn't sick. Elias nods slowly. I know that now. Mara looks at him sharply. No. You don't know it. You survived it secondhand. That lands. Elias doesn't respond. Mara continues. She was trying to leave. Not once. Many times. And? Mara hesitates. Then. She trusted me once. Elias goes still. What did she ask you? Mara doesn't answer immediately. The fire behind them roars louder for a second. Then settles. She asked me to help her get you out. Elias's breath catches slightly. Me? Mara nods. Yes. Elias shakes his head slowly. That's not what I remember. Mara replies softly. I know. A long silence. Then Elias whispers. So what changed? Mara looks down for the first time. Fear. Elias leans back. You got scared. Mara doesn't deny it. Yes. He stares at her. And you let her die because of that? Mara's voice breaks just slightly. I didn't let her die. Elias's tone sharpens. You didn't stop it either. That silence hits harder. Mara finally looks at him again. I was told if I spoke, my brother would disappear. Elias narrows his eyes. That's the excuse? It's the truth. He shakes his head. That's always the answer in this place, isn't it? Someone else pays the price. Mara's voice stays calm. Yes. Elias stands abruptly. No. No, I'm done hearing that. Mara stays seated. Elias points back at the burning cabin. So what now? We just pretend this fixes anything? Mara looks up at him. It doesn't fix anything. Then what was the point? Mara answers immediately. Now you know. Elias laughs bitterly. I know what? That my entire life was controlled by a dead man and a scared girl? Mara stands slowly now. Yes. That answer is simple. Too simple. It makes him angrier. Elias steps closer. You stayed in that house for years doing nothing? Mara's eyes don't move. I did what I could. And what was that? Her voice lowers. Keeping you alive. That stops him again. Elias stares at her. For what? Mara doesn't hesitate. For this moment. Elias exhales sharply. You mean burning everything down? Mara shakes her head slightly. No. A beat. For you choosing. Elias frowns. Choosing what? Mara gestures toward the cabin. Whether you become him. Silence. The fire reflects in Elias's eyes. The sheriff finally walks closer now. Slow. Careful. Listening. Elias notices him but doesn't look away from Mara. You think I have a choice? Elias asks quietly. Mara answers. You always did. Elias's voice drops. You're wrong. Mara steps closer. No. She holds his gaze. You just never got to see it. The fire behind them starts to collapse inward, beams falling one by one like something finally giving up. Elias looks at the burning house. Then back at Mara. Then at the sheriff. For a long moment, no one speaks. Then Elias says quietly. If I had known. Mara interrupts. You do now. Silence stretches. The wind moves through ash. Elias finally looks down at the ground. Then slowly nods. Not agreement. Not forgiveness. Something more uncertain. Understanding beginning to form. The sheriff watches him carefully.